Hello, second grade Smarties, and welcome to Wit and Wisdom Module 3, Civil Rights Heroes Lesson 24. We are going to be exploring a new text this week. But before we dive into that text, let's talk about the questions that we are wanting to build our knowledge on. Our big pizza question. This is the question that we're trying to answer after reading these texts and exploring these songs and art about the civil rights movement. And our big pizza question, our essential question, is how can people respond to injustice? Our pizza slice question, our focus question for this week is how did the Mendez family respond to injustice? And our pizza bite question, everyone take a bite out of your pizza. Our pizza bite question or our content framing question is what do I notice and wonder about separate is never equal? So, the text that we are going to be exploring in this next chunk of lessons is separate is never equal. And today we are going to be doing something a little bit different with noticing and wondering. Today, I am not going to be reading the text to you. We are going to be exploring the illustrations to think about what we are seeing and what we are wondering about the text. We're also going to be looking at these illustrations to see if we can make any connections with what we've learned about with the civil rights movement and the injustice of segregation. All right, Smarties. So here is the cover of our book, Separate is Never Equal. I want you to think about what you notice about this cover. What are some things that you are seeing on this cover? Tell me in the puzzle. I notice that there are two groups of people that are walking away from each other. I also notice that both groups of people, the people in each group look similar. Their skin colors look similar. So now I want you to think about what you were wondering about this cover. What are some questions that you have about this cover of the text? Tell me a question that you have in the puzzle. I wonder, why are they facing away from each other? I also wonder, why do their faces kind of look upset? I'm going to read the rest of the title to you. It says, Separate is Never Equal. Sylvia Mendez and her family's fight for desegregation. I want you to think about two words, separate and equal. What does the word separate mean? If I keep something separated, what does that mean I am doing? Tell me in the puzzle. If I am separating something, that means I'm keeping it apart. So separate is never equal. What does the word equal mean? We've talked about this in math, but think about what we know about the civil rights movement and equality. What does equal mean? Tell me in the puzzle. Equal means the same. So separate is never the same. What is a word that we know that has the meaning to keep people apart based on the color of their skin? What is that word? There's that meaning, but what is that word? What's the word that means to keep people separated by the color of their skin? Tell me in the puzzle. Segregation. Remember, the civil rights movement was about fighting against segregation, fighting for equality, fighting for equal rights, and to be judged by the content of your character, not the color of your skin. So, this book is about Sylvia Mendez. This book is going to be about a real family and their fight, their experiences with the injustice of segregation. Now, remember, Smarties, we are not going to be reading the text aloud. So, here is what I need you to do. I want you to focus on the illustrations. I want you to focus on what you see in the illustrations and what connections can you make to the other text that we have read. Now, our main character is going to be Sylvia, and this is Sylvia right here on the page. So, Smarties, I want you to focus on what you are noticing in this text. This is Sylvia, Sylvia Mendez. So, I'm going to spend about 10 seconds on each page, and I want you to think about things that you are noticing. Hmm. I'm noticing something about Sylvia. In all of the pictures so far, she is wearing the same dress. Hmm. So far, what we have seen, the illustrations, what are two things that you have noticed so far? Tell me in the puzzle. All right, let's keep going. All right, Smarties. In the puzzle, I want you to tell me one thing you are noticing on this page of the text. And I want you to tell me what is one question that you have about this page. Tell me in the puzzle. I notice that there are some kids that are swimming in the pool, but there are some kids that are standing outside the pool. I wonder why these kids are not swimming in the pool. Hmm. All right, Smarties. So, for this lesson, we are talking about the illustrations and what we can learn about this text from the illustrations. So, one more time in the puzzle, I want you to tell me what did you notice about the illustrations? What are some things that you noticed in the illustrations? Tell me in the puzzle. And what are some questions that you have about this text based on the illustrations? What are some questions that you are starting to ask yourself about this text? Remember those question words: who, what, when, where, why, and how. What are some questions that you have about the text so far? Tell me in the puzzle. So some examples of things that we notice is that on one of the pages there was some cow poop and bugs. So there's one notice that I made. And the two girls with Sylvia at the beginning of the book looked like twins. I also noticed that the Mendez family all have their mouths open on pages 26 and 27. What does that mean that they're doing? That means that they're talking, right? There's some other things that we can notice. It looks like the kids are in jail on this page of the text. It does kind of look like a jail cell, doesn't it? My wonder was, why are the children not swimming together? Why are they not all swimming together? And let's think about some wonders that we could be asking about. Why do you think Sylvia is crying on this page? Now, we haven't read the text yet, but looking at the illustrations, why do you think Sylvia is crying on this page? Tell me in the puzzle. So, looking at the illustrations, I see this boy pointing towards her, and she's walking away from him. So, I wonder if this boy has said something mean to Sylvia to make her cry. Looking at these illustrations, what do you notice about Sylvia and how she looks compared to the other children? She looks different than them, doesn't she? We've talked about with the civil rights movement that people that had different skin color in the past, they were treated unfairly by people that were white. And so looking at a couple of the children on this page, I'm wondering if we're experiencing segregation in a school. Why do you think on this page that the white kids are in the pool, but the Mexican children are not? Look at this sign, Smarties. It says no dogs or Mexicans allowed. Public pool. Why do you think the Mexican children are not allowed to be in the public pool? Tell me in the puzzle. I think that what is happening in this illustration is very similar to what was happening with Black people in Alabama and in Mississippi and Louisiana during the 1960s. Segregation, right? Keeping people apart based on the color of their skin. It looks like Mexican children in this setting were not allowed to be in public pools. I wonder what other places they weren't allowed to be in. All right, so this section of the text takes place in a courtroom. So we haven't read what's happening in this courtroom, but what do you think is happening on this page? Look at these people. They're all standing behind this podium, except for Sylvia. What do you think is going on in these illustrations? What do you think is happening? Tell me in the puzzle. I think that they are fighting for equality. Remember, people like Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., he spoke against the injustice of segregation. In the story of Ruby Bridges, we saw Ruby and her family in a courtroom being told that Ruby was going to be able to go to a whites-only school. So I wonder if something similar is happening on this page. And this is the last page in the text. What do you notice about this page of the text? What is going on? Tell me in the puzzle. I notice that we have people of color that are playing with white children. And it looks like they're smiling. It looks like they're having fun together. It looks like integration. I wonder if there's going to be a resolution to the end of this story. All right, Smarties. So tomorrow we will be diving in to the first half of that book, separate is never equal. So get excited for that. We are going to be connecting this text to our text about Ruby Bridges and Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. But now, let's finish up this lesson with a deep dive. So I want you to look at these words. Now, if you notice, our deep dive is about compound words. What do you know about compound words? Compound words are when I have one word that if I split the syllables, those syllables could be words on their own. So let's see if we can figure out how to connect these words. All right, so we have note, shine, fire, shell, sun, fly, egg, book, bird, storm, thunder, house. Now, these words next to each other, those are not compound words, right? I'm wanting to trick you a little bit. In the puzzle, I want you to tell me what are two words that if we put together made a new word with a new meaning. If I put two of these words together, what is a compound word that I can make? Tell me in the puzzle. So I notice that sun, shine, sunshine. That means that the sun is shining in the sky. There is sunshine outside. Sunshine. If I put that together, it becomes one word that has a different meaning. All right, what about egg? Egg, fly? No. Egg storm? No. Those words don't make sense. What about egg shell? Remember, the inside of an egg, the egg is covered in a shell. Egg shell. Great job. What about note? What word can we put with note to make a compound word? Note, book. A notebook is a book where I can take notes, where I can write things. Notebook. If I keep these separate, book, that is an object that I can read with words on pages, and a note might be a piece of paper with a message on it. But when I put those two words together, they have a new meaning. All right, and what about fire? Ooh, this one's kind of tricky. Firefly. A firefly is a type of insect, a flying insect that looks like there's fire on the end of it. Firefly. Fireflies are those bugs that you see light up in the nighttime, and they have that yellow burst of light when they are flying. And we have two more. Bird house. Birdhouse. When I put those two words together, they have a new meaning. A birdhouse is a house that is designed for birds. And our last one, thunderstorm. This is a storm that is made of thunder. So compound words are words that we will sometimes see in sentences. And sometimes those words, when we split them apart, they can stand alone. But when we put them together, they have a new meaning. So let's look at a few sentences and see if we can figure out the meaning of these compound words. At mealtime, there was no one else for Ruby to eat lunch with. Mealtime is our compound word. Mealtime. What is the meaning of the word mealtime? When I put those words together, what is the meaning of mealtime? Mealtime is the time when you eat a meal. So this is the time when you eat lunch or the time when you get to eat food. Mealtime. Ruby walked along the sidewalk to school. Sidewalk. That is our compound word. Sidewalk. walk. Those are two singular words that, when put together, make a new word with a new meaning. What does the word sidewalk mean? What is a sidewalk? It's a path that you can walk on the side of a road. Sidewalk. When we keep those words apart, they have different meanings, but when we put them together, they have a new meaning. There is a flower pot on the shelf in Ruby's classroom. What does the word flower pot mean? What is a flower pot? Flower pot. What is a flower pot, Smarties? Tell me in the puzzle. It is a pot or a bowl that you put flowers in. Flower pot. And our last sentence, Ruby carried a lunch box to school. Lunch box. Those are words that can stand alone, but when put together have a new meaning. What is the meaning of the word lunchbox? Tell me in the puzzle. A lunchbox is a box or maybe a bag that you keep food in for lunchtime, for mealtime. All right, Smarties. So, as you are thinking about how to be a better writer, think about some compound words that we could put into our writing to make it more interesting. All right, Smarties, that is it for lesson 24 of module 3. Remember to keep that growth mindset. Good learners do hard things, and I will see you very soon with another lesson. Happy learning.